Alright guys, and we are back. So this video is gonna take care of just a few details here and there that we're gonna fix, and we're almost at the final stretch, and this project is almost done. So first thing I want to do is I want to show you how to fix this really quickly without having to change every single post inside your content here. Now naturally you want to have as much control as possible over the content that you have, so it would be ideal if you could have all your content split into divs that have classes that you can then attach these classes to your code and then move around your code as you need to with those classes. However, that's not always the case, especially if you have somebody doing blogging for you and things like that. You don't know how they're going to write it, and you don't know how the content's going to end up in there, so it's going to be really difficult. But in this case, the easiest way that you can possibly just handle this in here, especially for images, is so you go to your project and you find where the main tag that is going to inject your content, which is going to be this div right here. This div, inside this div is where all your content lives. So you're going to use a class name for this, and you're going to add a class name to it, name it. We're going to name this post content, just because it makes sense that it will be called post content. Now we're going to go to the main style of the page. Okay, and then in there we're going to make that the post content open and close, image, that means any image inside the post content. Okay, I'm only targeting the image this time, so it doesn't do anything else to nothing to anything else. So, and then you want the height to be 400 pixels. Again, this is just what I want. You could change it, you can make it 450, you can make it anything you want, 500, but I'm setting it up by height, not by width. I don't want the width, I want the width to be relative to my height, depending on the content that I have. I want it to move around and 100%, 90%, 100%, whatever. So as soon as I hit save on this, I should be able to see it now that all of my images are going to be exactly this tall, no matter where they are. So even if they are landscape or they are portrait, they're always going to be this tall. So if this was a portrait one, it will probably look this tiny and it will be here. You could add, maybe you want it to be in the center, you could do that. That would be actually ideal. So you can make it margin, let's make it, actually it will probably be a good idea to have a little bit of padding in the bottom. So margin 0 on the top, and then auto so it gets centered, and then maybe 30 pixels in the bottom. And if we look at it, no, that applies to the container, so that makes sense why it didn't work. Just and then text align, then text align center. Let's see what's going on here. It's probably because the container is already 100% width, so the margin didn't even go in. Let me try the margin here. 0 auto. What am I doing? 30 pixels. Alright, it's the display. There we go. Had to add a display to it. Alright, so the margin was correct. But you have to add a display to it. So display flex. There we go. And now it works. We know it works. This is the beauty of having access to this dev tools here and the CSS. You can try things out before you actually code it. So that's pretty cool. All right, we can go back. That works. That's fine. So, but I know we can check this one, and it didn't work. what's going on? Oh, because that's part of what we're doing now. Sorry. So this is actually what we're doing now. So we're going into the index page, and we're going to make sure that we can actually go to it when we click on it, just like we tried to do and didn't. So if we look at the GraphQL data that you're receiving here, you're receiving the slug already from each one, but we're not really using it yet. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to our link right here, and in our link we're going to delete that, and we're going to use our brackets, and then now we're going to use the string literal that you remember using before, project, and then that's actually going to need that. Okay, so project, and then in with a $sign and another curly bracket, and now that is going to go to the edge node slug. Cool. And now we're going to do the same thing to the button, to the Explorer. That one was for the image, so you can go to it by clicking on the image, and this one will go in the button because you also wanted to access it with the button. So now if you save it and you go to your screen, assuming that it already refreshed, if I click on that, there we go, I get to where I need to go to, go back, and I'm getting there. Now I'm getting a little, if you look at the here on the buttons, there is an underscore in there. So if we look at that, that's another thing that we're going to probably clean up here. We can see that this is coming from this anchor tag right here. So one thing that I like to do is on my styles right here, I make sure that none of my anchor tags have a hover text decoration. I just don't think it really looks that great to begin with. So I'm gonna set up my hover, and there you go. And then in my hover, I'm going to make a text decoration none, and this is going to be for all of the anchor tags. So now if we look at it and refresh it, I think I may have to do it to the actual natural one as well. Yeah, even to the main one as well. Alright, so now it's back. As you can see, even when I hover, so when I hover on it, take this off. Go to my buttons are fine. I know that I'm hovering over them by just changing the color. I don't need to have that anchor tag in the bottom. One more thing I'm going to do is I want to make sure that when I hit project, I go to the head of my, I don't refresh the screen, but I go to here, to this, to the top of my, this right here, right? So this is how I'm going to do this. In my index, I'm going to look for where I start my paper for everything, for the about, and this is my hero banner, so that one is fine. We're not going to do anything to that one, but we're going to do it to the other ones. So starting with my about, right? So I want my about page, I want to land in my about page when I click on the about button over there, not in the about page but the about section. So I'm going to create a stopping point, so to speak, a place to stop, a place to go to, and I'm going to create an ID of value, and that's probably going to be called about. Okay, and close that. It's going to be a self-closing tag because it's just going to be a placeholder for me to stop there, and I can close that so I can get faster to this one, and this one is going to be for projects. That probably is going to clash because we've used that a lot, so let's call that my projects, and about is fine. Alright, so now that we have that, and we can go ahead and save it. That's not going to do anything yet, okay? Matter of fact, well, no, yeah, we're not going to do the other ones. We're going to leave the contact part as an exercise for you guys. So what I'm going to do now, if I go back to my header and I find where I am trying to connect to my pages. So if I look at here, I'm trying to go to projects, and this one I am going to go to my projects now. So this is going to, let me see, make sure that I did my projects. Okay, with an S. So this is going to link to that ID now because I did that hashtag in front of it. And this one is going to go to the about. So now when I click that, I may have to do that to the responsive one as well, to the responsive menu. So home, projects goes to my projects, and this one goes to the about. Save that again. So now if I come over here and I go to the about, it goes to the about quite almost there. Like it goes here, but it should be here. If I go to my projects, it should be higher than that. The reason why is because the header is fixed. So in order to do that, to fix that, we just have to add a little bit of margin top to each of these divs that we just added in the index page. So adding this, actually, you know what? Let's not add it to these divs right here. I just realized we're using these sections in here that we could use instead of adding this div. We can actually use the sections instead for what we're trying to do. So let's just do this instead. Let's move these IDs up here, and it's still gonna work just fine. It's gonna work the exact same way. Now we can get rid of these divs, all right? And we're gonna actually use the sections as these anchors that we're looking for. But in this, we're going to add some styling, some inline styling that is going to be positioned negatively 64 pixels from the top. Okay, that way my anchor sits a little lower than where my header, to the height of my header, in respect to the height of my header. But at the same time, that all the content itself is also going to move negatively. So we have to counteract with that with padding, and we're going to add the same but in padding top. Okay, and that will simulate that there is a stripe, a 64 pixel stripe vertically wedged in between as a padding, basically. So we're gonna add that in there, and we're gonna add here as well to my project. So now it's basically in the same both places, and let's just test that out. So save that, and if I go to my projects now, it's right at the head, and if I go to about, it's right at the head of it, and there's still enough padding. Everything is beautiful. All right, and so to the padding, to the paper here, we're adding a padding bottom, so we're gonna use that padding as well to the other one, to the projects, because we want to make sure that we have that kind of padding as well down there, so to that paper itself. Alright, so if we refresh the screen, we go down there, we can see that there's a bit of padding in there, so everything is fine. Alright, so the last thing we're gonna need to do here is, if you notice over here, the icons are fine, and then when we come over here, the icons are still fine. Well, that might have been because I already fixed it. Yeah, in the example that you have, there's a dot in front of it. Just remove the dot before the slash on all of these four right here, and by doing so, you will have all of this stuff here show up, which it wasn't at some point when I checked. So just make sure that that's happening. This image that is not coming through is basically a problem in the content that is coming from the post here. So I might have erased which one is that one. We can probably find that out. So that's in EOS Aperion. EOS Aperion, that one? Alright, let's figure that out. So this is going to this image that probably doesn't exist anymore. So we're just gonna get rid of that and add another media for the heck of it. And we're gonna do this one, the city, and insert it into the post. We're not gonna add these captions. We're not gonna add this. We're not gonna add this width or the class, and we're not gonna add this. Update, and then because we did that, obviously we have to refactor, and everything will be fine. So we'll stop the development and redevelop again. Make sure that everything works. Okay, and while that is doing that, all we have left is basically just the contact section in the bottom, and we're gonna take care of that in the next video. Basically, what I want you guys to do now, as technically as your own exercise, is want you to set up a new section in there, and just give it a background image, kind of like I did at the top, and set up like a picture of an office or something like that, and then in there just see if you can, from using Material UI, you can set up a form with some input fields and things like that in there, collecting the first name, last name, things like that. Just use your imagination, and eventually we'll see what I can do and what you guys can do, and then we'll put it together and make sure it works. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one.